Hello, and thank you for joining in this afternoon. My name is Karen Enriquez. I'm the Family Caregiver Support Program Care Coordinator for the Seago Area Agency on Aging. Today, we are discussing sticks and stones. Sticks and Stones is an English language children's rhyme. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. It's a common childhood chant meaning hurtful words cannot cause any physical pain and thus will be ignored or disregarded. We've all heard this rhyme as we were growing up, and it's still used today as a defense against name calling and verbal bullying. Family caregivers give their time, attention, and even finances to help make life better for their family members. Many feel honored and proud to be able to provide the love and the nurturing, especially when it's giving back by caring for your parents. Unfortunately, there are times when it doesn't feel like all of the efforts are appreciated, even when we know they really are. Family members, especially siblings, often offer unwanted opinions about how they think you're doing. Usually it isn't helpful criticism and can be very hurtful as a caregiver. Sometimes the well-meaning words of friends and families can feel insulting and even belittling to a caregiver. While it's important to realize these comments are unintentionally hurtful, it is also very important for non-caregivers to guard their comments. The comments make us wonder why we keep giving of ourselves. When someone suggests we aren't doing enough or not doing something right, even though we're truly doing all we can feel guilty. It causes us to push ourselves even harder in order to quiet the insults, which only hurts us more in the process. Every caregiving journey is unique, and what seems completely obvious to you may not be as obvious to everyone else. While there are many horrible people out there who make it their mission to be insulting, most people are sincere in speaking out of concern. Getting advice, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Getting good advice when you want it is usually a good thing. Getting unwanted or unsolicited advice, even if it contains some wisdom, can make you crazy. This is usually voiced by someone who has no experience for caring for someone who is ill or elderly and can be very difficult for a caregiver to hear. The words totally diminish the role of caregiving. We haven't seen you in such a long time. Why don't you get out more? Although it probably comes from a place of love, this is such an unproductive way to express concern for a friend or family member who's a caregiver. No one is more aware of their isolation than themselves. You look really tired. Are you making sure to take care of yourself? Caregivers generally have a good reason for looking tired and haggard. It's because they are. The biggest issue for caregiving is they tend to sacrifice their own self-care. It's the first thing that goes. Caregivers look tired because they're not getting enough sleep, and they often spend their nights worrying and making sure their loved one doesn't wander or fall down. No one appreciates that fact being pointed out to them. Caregiving seems like a burden. You shouldn't have to sacrifice your life for your mother. Caregiving is hard. That's why caregivers and non-caregivers alike refer to it as a burden. But when a friend or a family member compares caregiving to a burden, what it feels like is they are saying that the caregiver isn't handling the situation properly and that this isn't what they should be doing with their life. Caregivers accept this role because they are loving and caring, and they are trying to do the right thing. You need to get a real life. As the saying goes, you are preaching to the choir. Every caregiver understands that they need to start making time for themselves and their goals and their future. But telling a caregiver to get a life is like telling them that what they're doing now, caring for the loved one, isn't a good use of their time or effort. Why don't you put your mother in a nursing home? It would be better for everyone. Comments like this make a caregiver feel like they're not doing a good enough job taking care of their loved one. The reality is, a nursing home might not be financially feasible, or the caregiver may be trying to keep the loved one at home for as long as possible. Outsiders think they're offering good advice, but they might just unintentionally be making a caregiver feel guilty, defensive, and angry. But you shouldn't feel guilty. Well, when you're a caregiver, guilt just comes with the territory. Caregivers want to fix everything, they want to solve every problem and ease every hurt, but the reality is no one can do it all. When people tell a caregiver not to feel guilty about something, it just makes it worse. Why do you visit your dad so much when he doesn't even know you? If a caregiver is looking after someone who has Alzheimer's or another form of dementia and lives in a long-term care facility, people may ask why they bother to visit, especially someone who doesn't remember who you are. Truth is, people need human contact and love to thrive. Elders in long-term care also need someone to advocate for them. Caregivers shouldn't question going to visit someone who doesn't recognize them. As long as you know who the loved one is, that's all that should matter. Let's not talk about caregiving. Let's talk about something happy and fun. When it comes to your average small talk conversations, caregivers generally don't have a lot of fun and lighthearted things to share. People have to realize that caregivers need to be able to talk about what's going on in their lives. Family and friends and family members should take the time to listen to what the caregiver has to say, no matter how unpleasant or unhappy it is, and then talk about something happy and fun. You must be so relieved that it's over. Sad. When the care recipient dies, a caregiver is likely to be facing an avalanche of emotions. Relief might be one of those feelings, but it's never productive to point this out to a person who has just lost a parent, a spouse, or a sibling. If you diminish the passing, it can be perceived as diminishing their life and the efforts of the caregiver. When are you going to get over it and move on? For most people, processing the death of a loved one takes time. This is especially true of caregivers who have spent a significant amount of time and energy into taking care of the person who just passed. Grief is an individual process. This statement is so unnecessary and should never be spoken. In some ways, a caregiver, you have a target on your back that attracts unwanted and unsolicited advice, and even well-intentioned people will say the wrong things. But you existed before those other people with bad manners and questionable choices of words, and you'll exist after. We alone give the words the power to insult and the power to injure us. Everyone has free will, and we're fortunate to live in a country that protects free speech. But of course, this means you'll never be able to control what other people say or how they say it. They're only words. If the same thing was spoken in a language you didn't understand, would it still bother you? You alone interpret them. Keep in mind, words are neutral, and think to yourself, words will never hurt me. Since we can't predict when unwanted advice happens, if we're not prepared, we can at least let the advice. If we're not prepared, the advice can destroy our confidence, confuse us, or even worse. Instead of being offended by someone's comments, learn some strategies to handle them. And this works in all stages of life. Educate them. Fill them in on the parts of the caring they might not be aware of. Let them know the details of the experiences. Most people often misspeak from a lack of experience and are just unaware. Start a conversation, and instead of jumping down someone's throat because they said something that offends you, ask them why they feel that way. They may have tried something you haven't, or thought of something that could absolutely work. You might be able to provide some insight as they struggle with their own emotions concerning the situation. Redirect the topic of conversation to something that's helpful for your loved one instead of hurtful to you. If redirection doesn't work, simply walk away or politely disconnect from the phone call. Unfortunately, too often negative comments come from siblings or other family members who aren't helping or who want it done their way, which may not always be in the best interest of the loved one. Move on. Realize that the comment is coming from someone with limited experience with a very different situation. If you feel their comment was meant as an insult, eliminate that person's influence in your life. If they don't know what they're talking about, move on. Holding a grudge or becoming bitter over one person's opinion is a huge waste of your already limited energy. If the comments are coming from your senior, remember they might be frustrated or confused. Don't take it personally or get offended. They may be angry at their situation, their loss of independence, or just be totally depressed. Their comments are directed at the closest person, which will be their caregiver. Just know, no matter what you do, you can't please everyone all the time. That is the reality, so just accept the comments and don't take them to heart. Don't react with anger. Sometimes that's what they want. They are just trying to get under your skin or get you to do what they want. Smile and continue on with your other duties. They'll stop pushing when you start smiling. Of course, these strategies may not be easy to fall back on, and you need to practice them. Step back, take a deep breath, and remember it's human nature to get hurt feelings when someone's telling you all the things you're doing wrong. The insults and negativity are even harder to take when you're tired. Remind yourself about the importance of what you're doing. How do you cope when you're feeling unappreciated? So first of all, understand why seniors may not show appreciation. Thinking about why your older adult doesn't appreciate gives perspective on the situation and can make it easier to cope. For example, seniors who are living with a serious chronic illness or pain or declining physical or cognitive abilities might just be focused on themselves. They're less likely to be aware of how you're feeling. Older adults with dementia are often struggling just to get through the day, and they may not be able to think about more than just the basic tasks of living. Or they could feel appreciation but not be able to express it properly. If they're in a more advanced stage, they might not be able to process complex concepts like appreciation. In other cases, your older adult may have gotten used to the daily routine and no longer realizes how much you're actually doing and how much time and energy it actually takes. It's also possible that your older adult resents needing help, but regardless of the true needs, they may feel like you're forcing unnecessary assistance on them. This makes them unlikely to feel gratitude for what you're doing. Make self-care a priority. Reward yourself. Caregiving is by nature a thankless job. Rewarding yourself is another way to keep feeling positive about all the good things you're doing. When you're exhausted and stressed, it's easy for resentment and anger to take over. That's why self-care is essential to caregivers. It's not an indulgence. Taking time for yourself is what keeps you mentally and physically healthy. Reward yourself, and it can be anything, big or small. Maybe it's just getting your favorite Starbucks drink once a week, or buying supplies for that hobby that you love to do, or even giving yourself permission to get respite once in a while, or hiring a caregiving help so you can go away for a weekend. Don't measure your performance in terms of health. Aging can't be cured. Serious chronic diseases will continue to get worse. And like the old saying goes, none of us are getting out of here alive. That's why it's not fair to judge yourself based on your older adult's health or ability to recover from a health crisis. You are making an important difference. Friends or family who haven't done any caregiving may not understand what you do or how hard it is. Some people have a hard time empathizing if they've never experienced something for themselves. That's why they might not be appreciative of everything that you do. One way to cope is to share more information. For example, send family members an email to update them on the situation and the tasks that you've been managing. When family members have a better understanding of everything you've been doing, they might be more likely to show appreciation or maybe even help. Graciously accept thanks and appreciation. When you've received far less appreciation than you deserve, it's easy to snap at someone who thanks you for something. It may feel like their thanks is a little too late, but your reaction will only discourage them from doing it again. Even if you feel like their appreciation isn't enough, accept it graciously and model the behavior you'd like to see. Sometimes the best way to get thanks is to give it first. If your older adult does something helpful, no matter how minor, recognize it and thank them. It can be something small. For example, if they hang up the hand towel rather than leaving it on the counter, say thank you. You'll be reinforcing a positive behavior and increasing the chances that they'll think to thank you sometime. Choose to do it for yourself. Even if nobody appreciates or notices your sacrifice, it's important to remember that you have a choice and you've made the decision to be a caregiver. It may not always feel like you're in control of that decision, but you are. When you choose to be a caregiver, it's important that you do it for your own reasons and not for appreciation or recognition from anyone else. See it as a compliment. Unfortunately, the more capable, helpful, and reliable you are, the more you'll be taken for granted. The person who gets everything done and knows exactly what they're doing doesn't stand out because they're not causing any problems. This may be a small comfort, but it can reframe the lack of appreciation as a compliment to your outstanding caregiving skills. Finding strategies to help you cope with the daily challenges of being a family caregiver will help you be more successful and healthier. And when a tough situation comes up, you'll know what to do. Physical activity stimulates endorphins and is a great stress reliever. Even a few minutes of getting your blood moving will do a world of good for your mood. The longer you spend worrying about every possible outcome, the more time you'll spend focused on negative thoughts. So focus on the positive and keep a go-to list of positive thoughts and things that you're grateful for. Even Oprah says you should be grateful. That way, in times of stress, you can immediately focus on them. Putting positive thoughts in your head shifts your mindset away from negativity and instantly improves your mood. Nobody is perfect, and we shouldn't hold on to blame. It only adds to stress and frustration. So remember, forgive. Laugh. It's been said that laughter is the closest distance between two people. Laughter can get you through some of the worst situations, and sometimes if you don't laugh, you're going to cry. Even if there are times where you feel as you won't make it through, look for the humor. It can show up in some of the most bizarre places, which makes it even funnier. Another free and quick and effective way to reduce caregiver stress is by practicing gratitude. It's about noticing that there are good things in your life, no matter how difficult things get. And calling attention to the positive things helps you shift that perspective and see things are not always completely horrible. It doesn't matter if you do it for 2 seconds or 5 minutes. Adding gratitude to your life is an effective way to reduce stress and protect from burnout and improve health and your quality of life. It can be posting quotes or images to remind you to be grateful. It could be as simple as writing your favorite quote or just saying, "I'm awesome and I've got this" on a Post-it note and putting it on your bathroom mirror. It'll give you a boost. The point is, write down the things that make you feel grateful. There's no right or wrong way to do it. When you write down those things and read them when you're feeling down or extra stressed, it's a perfect way to boost your mood and shift that perspective. It doesn't mean ignore the negative feelings. Nobody's suggesting that caregivers should suck it up and be thankful no matter how tough things get. Whatever is. Gratitude is about noticing that there are always some positive things in your life, no matter how dark things may seem. Being aware of that gets you a different perspective. Instead of getting sucked into a negative spiral about what you don't have, use gratitude to pay attention to what you do. Make a conscious effort to focus on people, situations, and things that make your life better. Conclusion: how can I help a caregiver? The answer is simple. Be present and don't give advice. Being present is a matter of maintaining a connection with that person through visits, calls, cards, prayers, and other expressions of support. Providing unsolicited advice, which is what friends do often, should always be avoided. People who are caregivers are often emotionally fragile. Tell them you love them and that you're sending good thoughts their way. Offer to step in and spend some time and allow them the few moments that they need to redirect their focus on themselves. The SECO Area Agency on Aging advocates for family caregivers. We provide a system of supports for their physical and emotional needs. For more information, we invite you to explore our SECO Area Agency on Aging Facebook and webpage. We post all of our webinars. We have quite a collection of videos. We are available to you, and please be assured we have your back. Again, thank you for watching. My name is Karen Enriquez. I can be reached at 520-432-2528, extension 221, or by email at kenriquez@seco.org. We appreciate your attending and hope it was beneficial. Thank you.